So property prices rose by 5% in the prime London areas this April compared to the same month last year. So what does this mean for the prime London property market? Well, in this video, I want to share with you my thoughts as to what you should be doing if you're a property investor, buyer or seller in the current market, but also some hard data shared by our friends at Lonres. So stay tuned. So the series of property market updates that I regularly do are specific to prime London because I know how confusing it can be, especially if you're looking at the media. They're giving you different stats, property going up, it's going down, and it can be very confusing, especially if you're looking at the whole of the UK. So there are micro markets across the UK. I mean, there are micro markets just in London itself. So first up, let's look at transaction levels. And of course, if we compare this to last year during the stamp duty holiday, there's nothing that can compare with that type of market. So we're going to see a drop. In fact, it's around about 27% drop when we compare this year to last year. However, Lonres has very kindly provided us with at the average between 2017, 18 and 19 of April. And when compared to that, there's actually an increase of above 4%. And when we look at new instructions, we can see that they're similar levels to pre-pandemic too. And when we look at under offer properties, there is a big difference, 20% higher compared to this time last year. And that just shows the demand for buying properties in prime London, but that does depend on the type of property and also the location of prime London, which we're going to see very shortly. So lack of stock and high demand for property in London continues to be a problem, and naturally that means that prices continue to rise. Again, that's 5% this April compared to the same time last year. However, when we compare the previous month of April, we can see there was a bigger price growth. There was 6.1%. So there's been a slight drop in price growth. And there is a difference when it comes to price growth depending on the specific area of London. Remember, you've got prime central London, you've got prime London, and you also got fringe. But the biggest difference you're going to see is in the type of property. So specifically houses vs flats, which we'll later see. So if we look at prime sales annual change for achieved prices, it's 5%. And if we look at transaction levels, it's 27% lower than last year, and new instructions at 21% less. So prime sales since 2017, 2019, and I love looking at this data in terms of more normal markets. You can see it's less by 1%, and however transactions are 4.6% up and less 3.8% when it comes to new instructions. But despite the UK returning to normality to a big extent, we continue to see a preference for houses vs flats. In fact, if we look at price growth over the course of the last 12 months, we can see that flats is just above 4%, however houses is just above 7%. Now the difference is even bigger if we look at it from a 2-year perspective. Flats have actually dropped by 0.9%, whilst houses have actually increased by 6%. And this is a trend that I think we're going to continue to see over the course of the year of 2022. So the fact that houses continue to be in strong demand absolutely means you should hit that like button so we can get videos like this to people just like you. And if you want to get up to date in the rental market in the prime London area, watch out for our next video. But in the meantime, make sure you watch the rental property boom that we shot a few months ago. So when we look at the Lonres report a little bit deeper, flats and houses, but family homes specifically have done very, very well, especially outside of prime central London, so places like Richmond and Chiswick. Flats have done specifically well in prime central London, places like Mayfair and Chelsea. However, flats haven't done great when we look at those fringe areas such as Richmond and Chiswick. So a big contrast there when it comes to flats and houses. And if we look at this visual here for house price growth in April 2021 to 2022, if we look at prime central London specifically, houses 6.9% up compared to 6.4% for flats. So not much of a difference there in prime central London. However, if we look at prime London, you can see it's up by 8%. However, flats are up by 2.1% only. So a huge difference. Prime fringe 9.3%, and again a huge difference when it comes to flats, 4.4%. So if you find this video helpful, hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you get notifications of videos just like this so you don't miss any market updates. And it's just not prices that highlight the difference between the preference of houses vs flats. If we look at the number of transaction levels, that shows a clear picture as well. The first 4 months of 2022 was similar to the level in 2014, which was the pre-pandemic peak, while the number of flat transactions was still 27% lower. And not even the stamp duty holiday incentive was enough to jumpstart the demand for flats. If If we look at the first 4 months of 2021 compared to the peak of 2014, it's 13% lower in terms of number of transactions. Compare that to houses, is actually 29% higher. So flats continue to lag behind the houses when it comes to transaction levels. And of course, all of this activity has an effect on time on market, and there's going to be a clear difference between flats and houses. The average time it takes to sell a house has fallen over the last couple of years, from 8.4 months at the beginning of 2020 to 7 months in 2022. However, for flats, the average time to sell has actually risen from 8.8 months to 2020 in 9 months in 2022. Now, this difference exists even when ignoring the hard to sell properties that get stuck on the market for over a year. So you're looking at 6.1 months for flats and 4.9 months for houses. With a longer time to sell, it's no surprise that the average discount on asking price is bigger for flats, 7.4% less than houses, than 5.8% so far this year at least. So it's clear that houses are preferred option for buyers across prime London. So key points for April market update, we can see there's a 5% increase in price growth this April compared to last year 2021. And when it comes to preference in houses vs flats, there's a continued trend, and there's a transaction level decrease of 27%. If there's anything we can help you, whether you're looking to buy, sell or rent a property in prime London, please feel free to reach out to myself or my team. We're always happy to help.